Voices of Victory Podcast Show. Voices of Victory. Voices of Victory. Voices of Victory. Voices of Victory Podcast Show.
It's now time for the Voices of Victory Podcast Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Mario Delia.
And welcome to Voices of Victory. Today, I'm going to go over a few things. My name is Mario DeLeone, and today I'm going to go over habit formation. And this is important for people that are leaders. So I decided to call it a simple name, really just to outline it for everybody. I just call it the Immediate Action System. It's just nothing fancy, no fancy names. The IAS. That's it. Now, what it really all is about taking micro actions, smaller actions for lasting change, okay? So most people don't fail when it comes to habits because they lack motivation or willpower. They fail because the way they deal with the change, they actually approach it in a less effective way. They do too big, too fast, too overwhelming, and the brain sees a massive change as a threat. And they fight back, they backslide, and then they quit. And that's why willpower alone is not the only thing that will make it work. The IAS, the Immediate Action System, nothing glorious, is just built differently. It doesn't rely on motivation. It doesn't require you to be all strong and this, that, and the other thing, but it is practical. It does guide you towards tiny strategic actions that are going to help you bypass that emotional resistance, because your brain will throw up red flags and that will start to stack up over time. Eventually all these habits will start stacking up beautifully. And the first thing that we want to understand is that this is really built on three core principles. Okay. Number one is be in the now. All right. You want to avoid being in the future, being in the past. You want to be in the now. The change happens in the now. It happens in the present, not in the past, not in the future. Don't worry about milestones. We're going to talk about that. We're going to discuss that. You don't need to, commit for life. You just need to take action right now. We are going to handle the long term because this system handles short term, which is the now, and long term, which is your overall goals in the future. And habits, when it comes to micro actions, we're going to be taking micro actions, small actions. These are the micro actions over the word habits. Habits can be so just vague. Can be really vague. So we're going to call them micro actions. All right. You're focusing on tiny intentional actions that feel easy, but lead to a much larger result. Now, we have short-term focus and we also have long-term tracking. So you only have to worry about today. All right. Your habit tracker that you would use on a mobile device would help you keep score and handle the long game. This way you don't have to. So I want to break this down step by step, starting with the very first thing we want to do. The first thing we want to do is we want to prime our mind. We want to prime our mind before the date that we start the change. So you got to pick a date in which you want to actually start. That when I'm going to begin my habit on that day, whatever the day of the week is, right? Could be now, could be tomorrow, could be next week, but get clear, get decisive, choose a particular date. And up until that date, up until that time, you're going to prime your mind right before the start date. So you need to take in information that is going to get you excited. Podcasts, videos, things like that. Things that are going to get you excited about your change. Excited. Your brain needs to warm up to the ideas. It's probably even good to write down some of your whys, why you want this, why you want to do this. So before you even start your new, habit or your new sets of behaviors that you want, is that you have to prime your mind ahead of time. Then you're going to schedule your activation date. On that date, there's no turning back. That's why you want to prime yourself up until that date. You want to get yourself excited up until that activation date. And once that exact date comes, it's like, boom, you go straight into it. Here's the good news. It doesn't have to be overwhelming, but you can get excited about it. So you're going to put it on your calendar, no guesswork. From there, we have to really bring our minds into reinforcement. We should be able to read, see, and hear things that are going to reinforce this new behavior. Maybe watch some videos, listen to some podcasts, read some books, take in information that's going to support the change and write down your whys. because it's all about reprogramming our mind before we take action. And we got to write down those reasons. That brings us over to the next one. Write down your reasons. One belief isn't enough. 2 or 3 whys are going to be really important. And you need multiple reasons why this actually matters. Your mind needs proof, and sometimes having it on paper is going to support you. So before you take the first action, just understand your brain is already on board at this point. Before you begin to activate, that date, your brain is already getting on board with the whole idea. So you're getting yourself excited. You're preparing yourself to what's to come. You're putting the positive reinforcements in your brain so you can move forward, right? Now, the next step from here is the micro action launch. This is where you start the micro action launch. Here we are, we're on launch date. You're launching on that date. And this is where most people might take too big of a jump, right? Their brain might fight back. All right, so you're not going to make that mistake here. Instead, you're going to take the smallest possible action. Okay, one so small that your brain actually doesn't resist it. Okay, just if you're quitting smoking, you're going to wait 5 minutes longer before lighting up. You're going to delay that. Train your brain to delay those things, right? If you're eating healthier, add that one vegetable on your plate. If you're working out, do one extra push-up, or you do a small set of actions that are going to help you exercise that are going to slip past your brain's defense system. So over time, these are going to snowball into bigger changes, and that's what the habit tracker is actually for. Now, stay in the now and stay in the present, because the now is where people fail. People, they fail, by the way, because they focus on the long term and they hit the panic button. It's like, right now, you're not having a cigarette at the moment, but you're thinking already about the pain of next week. That can make you backslide incredibly quick. You can't think about next week. You got to think about the minute that you're actually in, the now. All right. People say, "Oh, I can't do this forever." And they start to panic and then they start to go crazy. You got to really be in the now at that moment. So you don't need to worry about forever right now. You only need to focus on this moment for that minute. It's 1 minute at a time, maybe even if the habit is so bad, 1 second at a time. Don't think about next week. Avoid thinking about next week. If you do, it's going to make you backslide. So don't think about all of the workouts you're going to be doing a month from now. Think about the workout that you're going to do today. Okay? Just do the first movement. Avoid worrying about whether or not you'll ever smoke again. Just get to this moment. Okay, your only job is to win in the present moment. Got it? That's the step. Now, step 4 is use a habit tracker to handle the long term. So if you have a habit tracker, the technology does allow us. Our smartphones have habit trackers we can download for free, and we can use them to handle the long term. Your brain needs to see that tracking. Matter of fact, they said about a good 80 to 90% of habits that are actually physically tracked, whether it's on paper or whether it's digitally, actually have a higher rate of success. And this was attributed to smartwatches and smart technology for creating new habits. So use that habit tracker to handle the long term, because your brain's got to see it. You got to see the progress, right? And that's why the habit tracker is actually critical. So each micro action gets tracked. The small wins start to stack up. Momentum builds with progress, and you won't need to, quote unquote, break the streak. If you do have an app that maybe supports it, it's designed in that way, it might be a good thing. You don't think about the long term, because the tracker is actually going to handle it for you. Your brain's going to start recognizing that this is who I am now. I'm in the process of working on this, right? This present tense language. The next step is handling the resistance. Resistance will come. That's not a maybe. It is possible. Okay, it is possible that it might come, right? So the difference is you'll know exactly how to handle it. You're just going to shrink your actions a little bit. So if 8 glasses of water a day is too much, try to maybe settle on 6 or 5, and kind of go from there. So if resistance starts kicking in, you're just going to scale it back a little bit, just a little. Scale it by half, bring it down just slightly below that resistance level. Okay. And you're going to make the action a little bit smaller. Instead of a workout, you might do 2 or 3 squats instead, right? And a lot of people say, well, what does that do? Well, it does consistency. Speak for yourself, right? So instead of quitting smoking forever, just wait 5 more minutes. Just delay yourself 5 more minutes. Okay. Use the just for today rule. Okay. You don't have to do this forever. It's just for today. All right. You only have to win today. And this is where we get to focus on our identity, who we are, not the outcomes per se. So instead of saying, I have to quit smoking, say, I'm someone who controls my actions and I'm working on it. I'm in the process of taking control over my habits and actions, right? Your identity will shift a little bit. Resistance won't stand a chance. Why this works is most people approach the change backwards. They go too big, too fast, they burn out, and they fail. So this system tips that on its head with no overwhelm, because it's overwhelm that makes people actually backslide. You only focus on today's actions, no resistance, right? The steps are too small to actually trigger the pushback. There's no vagueness. Your micro actions are there. You're going to take them, right? You're going to replace those vague habits with actions, micro actions. There's no short-term thinking. Your tracker is going to handle the long term, and you're just going to be in that moment. And change isn't about the willpower. It's about the consistent, intentional actions that become your new normal. So I'm going to give you a summary of the steps to make your life so much easier right here, right now. A summary of all of this is step 1, prime your mind before your start date. Set your start date and prime your mind before that. Put all the things in your brain that are going to reinforce you and really be the things that support your new actions, right? You do that before your start date. Once that start date comes, you have to stay committed and you got to go through that start date. That's your first date. Get excited, get really positive about it, and go for it. Step 2 is once that start date occurs, that's the micro action launch, right? So that's where all your micro actions, your daily micro actions are going to take place during that day. Step 3 is stay in the now. Be in the moment. Avoid getting your head in the future. You got to be gentle with yourself. All right. If you're thinking about next month already, oh my God, you're already overwhelming yourself. You don't need anybody else to overwhelm you. Got to stay put. Stay in the present. And step 4 is use that habit tracker to handle that long term. If you feel overwhelmed by what's going to happen 3 months from now, get the habit tracker and let the habit tracker track your daily results. That's what it does. You're going to look at the day with that micro action. And then 3 weeks from now, you could look at everything you've done and say, wow, I can't believe I've come this far, right? And you go from there. Then step 5 is you're going to handle that resistance in the now. You're going to avoid overthinking it. All right. When it comes down to overthinking, get back into your feelings, your feeling nature. That's the thing is thoughts. If there's certain thoughts that crop up, start bringing that thought, merge that thought into your emotions, into your feelings. Say, okay, what's making me feel this way? Right. And get into that, start understanding. And then you take that first action. So you can see that it's really straightforward. Micro actions work. You're letting the habit tracker take care of the weeks to come. You're not thinking about the weeks to come. You're thinking about only what you're doing in the moment, in the now, during that actual point. And that's all there is for today. Have a great day and take care.